The smell of freshly turned earth and a strangely metallic scent hung in the air of Serafina Vale's meticulously maintained garden. It was a Saturday morning, the kind she usually spent with her heirloom roses, a calming ritual of her later years. She stepped out onto the porch, humming a tune, but froze. Her new neighbors, Corbin and Genevieve Thorne, her own daughter and son-in-law, who had moved in just 3 weeks ago on the pretense of being closer to help, were standing over her prized crimson glory bush. Corbin, sweating slightly, was lowering a shovel back into a neatly tamped hole right at the base of the bush. Genevieve, her face pale, was holding a small, official-looking document. "What exactly are you two doing to my roses?" Serafina's voice was low, a gentle rumble that masked a rising tectonic shift of dread. Corbin jumped, dropping the shovel. "Serafina, good morning. We were just adding a special mineral supplement. For the health of the bush," he stammered, too quickly, gesturing vaguely at the soil. Genevieve didn't look up, but her hands were trembling. "Mother, it's nothing. Corbin is being silly. We just wanted to do something nice for you, remember? We offered to take care of the garden." But Serafina's eyes were fixed on the document in Genevieve's hand. It wasn't a gardening guide. It was a professionally printed power of attorney form. Specifically, a durable general power of attorney. And the signature line, the one that designated Corbin Thorne as the sole agent, was already signed. Not by her, but a clumsy, near-perfect forgery of her signature. "You signed my name," Serafina stated, her voice now flat and cold, every trace of warmth evaporated. "You offered to take care of my garden, but your real reason was buried right next to my rose bush. You were hiding this document, weren't you?" Genevieve finally looked up, her expression a toxic mix of panic and manufactured innocence. "Mother, listen. It's for your own good. Things are getting complicated. Your memory." Corbin stepped forward, his eyes shifting to hard, mercenary glass. He abandoned the lie. "Look, Serafina, the market is volatile. Genevieve and I are simply securing your assets. It's a necessary precaution. You've been quite forgetful lately. The bank statements, the missing checks." Serafina didn't hear the rest. The ground beneath her feet didn't just crack, it pulverized. Forgetful? Missing checks? It was their own engineered campaign of subtle sabotage, the gaslighting that had been slowly building for months. The forgetfulness was their insistence that she had misremembered important dates or misplaced documents they had secretly removed. The indignation that hit Serafina wasn't a flash. It was a slow, searing realization of every sacrifice, every act of selfless love that had been systematically weaponized against her. She didn't scream or cry. She became terrifyingly still. She walked past them, into the kitchen, her movements precise and detached, as if her soul had already left her body and was observing the scene from the ceiling. She pulled out a small, worn leather-bound ledger, her meticulous financial journal, which she kept updated daily. She flipped it open to a section she'd titled, with heartbreaking irony, "Future Support." Serafina's finger traced the columns, her mental accounting a brutal inventory of her stolen years. The quantification of her pain began. 2018. The starter mortgage down payment. Corbin had insisted they needed to get onto the property ladder quickly. Serafina had pulled $18,000 from her retirement IRA, a fund she'd earmarked for travel. The recorded entry, $18,000. Gift, no repayment agreement. 2020. Genevieve's business launch, capital. It was a disastrous online boutique that folded within 8 months. Serafina, worried about her daughter's stress, had loaned her the money, which was never repaid. The recorded entry, $9,500. Loan, defaulted. 2022 to 2025. Monthly, emergency, transfers. The steady, insidious drain. Small sums, $500 here, $750 there. For urgent car repairs, unexpected medical bills, and school fees. Serafina, trusting and generous, had never demanded receipts. The calculated total, $17,250. Total small transfers. The garden care. The move itself. They had convinced her to finance the moving costs and this small renovation on their new place next door. The last entry, $6,800. Moving and renovation assistance. The total was staggering, a gaping more of $51,550, the equivalent of a comfortable year of her retirement living, completely dissolved by two people who now sought to declare her incompetent and steal the rest. The humiliation was not just in the money. It was in the transactional nature of their affection. Every kind word, every visit, had been predicated on the next financial siphon. She closed the ledger, the sound a quiet, final click that sealed the fate of her relationship with her daughter. The Serafina who valued peace and family harmony was dead, replaced by a cold, calculating strategist. Later that afternoon, Serafina drove to meet her closest friend, Lydia Hayes. Lydia was a retired professor of English literature, sharp as a tack, and known for her brutal honesty. They met at their usual quiet spot, a small, dimly lit cafe tucked away from the main thoroughfare. Serafina recounted the rose bush incident, the forged signature, and the half-century mark of the stolen funds. Lydia listened without interruption, her expression hardening from sympathy to utter disgust. "And here is the most agonizing part, Lydia," Serafina murmured, stirring her tea, the cup clattering slightly. "I thought it was just about greed. But I realized this morning it's about reputation. It's the campaign." "What campaign?" "The one where I'm the problem. I've had 3 different acquaintances subtly ask me if I'm doing all right over the past few weeks. Corbin called me a little dotty in front of the pastor last Sunday, disguised as a joke about my memory of the hymnal. And yesterday, my bridge club treasurer, dear old Mrs. Albright, asked if I wanted her to double-check my checks before I signed them, just in case." Serafina's voice broke on the last word. Lydia's eyes narrowed. "They're circling." "Serafina, I have to tell you something I overheard at the community center." Genevieve and Corbin were talking, loudly, to a group of people, complaining about how difficult it is to manage an elder parent with erratic behavior. They even used the phrase, mental decline, implying you are a burden and a liability. They're manufacturing a public narrative to justify their theft. They want to make the theft look like a necessary intervention. The confirmation, raw and ugly, was a physical blow. The betrayal was not private. It was a calculated, public crucifixion of her dignity. Her erratic behavior was their cover story. Her mental decline was their forged power of attorney. "They've already started the war, Lydia. I just hadn't realized I was already under fire," Serafina said, the cold clarity returning. She stood to leave, embracing Lydia tightly. "Thank you. I needed to know the full scope of their treachery." As Serafina was leaving the cafe, her phone rang. The screen displayed Corbin's name. A predatory smile, the first she'd worn in years, touched her lips. This was too perfect. She answered her voice calm and remarkably steady. "Hello, Corbin. To what do I owe this pleasure?" Corbin's voice, usually smarmy and confident, was panicked. "Serafina. Thank God you answered. Listen, there's a huge issue. The funds. The $25,000 we were counting on for the final payment on the new car. The transfer didn't go through. The bank flagged it. They said the account has been restricted. You need to call them immediately and release the hold. We need that money today." The sheer audacity of his demand, the assumption that her generosity was an inexhaustible, unconditional fountain, was breathtaking. He had the gall to ask for more while simultaneously trying to steal everything. Serafina paused, letting the silence stretch, a terrifying, pregnant silence filled with all the contempt and wisdom she had finally gathered. "Corbin," she finally said, her voice dropping to a silken, dangerous whisper, "I have no intention of calling the bank to release the hold." "What?" "Serafina, you don't understand. This is critical. The penalties are enormous. You'll ruin our credit. We need that money, he sputtered, his panic escalating into genuine fear. No, you don't understand, Serafina corrected him, her voice a whip-crack of finality. I know about the power of attorney. I know about the $50,000. And I know about the rosebush. The well is now dry, Corbin. I'm closing the bank for good. There was a moment of shocked silence on the line, followed by a low, guttural sound of disbelief. You can't do this, Serafina. You owe us, Corbin hissed, his veneer of courtesy completely gone. You will regret this. We have rights. You're acting erratically, just like we suspected. You're making a huge mistake, and we know exactly how to fix this, legally. Try me, Serafina replied, a razor edge in her voice. I gave you money when you needed it. Now I'm giving you nothing. That's the only mistake I've corrected today. Corbin's reply was a snarl of pure fury, a sound of a trapped animal. Fine. You want a war? You'll get one. You will hear from my lawyer tomorrow, and we will settle this little misunderstanding about who is competent to manage their own affairs. You won't control anything for much longer. I guarantee it. Serafina hung up the phone, her hand steady. She looked out the cafe window, the first tremor of fear mingling with a fierce exhilaration. Corbin had escalated the threat, a lawyer and a legal challenge to her control. She knew this was the point of no return, but she had made her first cut. He was desperate, and desperate people always made mistakes. She just needed to be ready to catch him. Serafina did not wait for the lawyer's call. She was waiting for them. The next morning, at precisely 9 a.m., the doorbell chimed, followed by a loud, insistent knocking. Serafina, dressed impeccably in a tailored navy suit, a piece she hadn't worn since her husband's funeral, now imbued with a new, sharp purpose, looked through the peephole. Standing on her porch were Corbin, Genevieve, and a third figure, a man in an expensive but ill-fitting suit, holding a briefcase. The lawyer. She opened the door just enough to create a barrier, her face a mask of detached politeness. Serafina, we need to talk, Corbin began, his voice tight with barely contained aggression. This is Mr. Alistair Finch. He's here to facilitate a reasonable discussion about your recent irrational decisions regarding your assets. Good morning, Mr. Finch, Serafina said, ignoring Corbin completely. I understand you are here to discuss a matter of, shall we say, asset management. Mr. Finch cleared his throat, adjusting his tie. Mrs. Vale, the concern here is that your current actions, specifically the unauthorized and sudden restriction of funds necessary for your daughter and son-in-law's financial stability, suggest a significant deviation from your previously established pattern of support. We believe this pattern of behavior may warrant a review of your capacity to manage your own financial affairs. Genevieve stepped forward, her eyes wet with crocodile tears. Mother, we don't want to hurt you, but we can't let you risk your entire estate through these confusing choices. Corbin and I are just trying to protect you from yourself. The words capacity and protect you hung in the air like toxic spores. Serafina realized the full weight of their attack. They weren't just trying to steal her money. They were attempting to strip her of her legal autonomy and declare her mentally incompetent, a conservatorship power grab that would give them complete control over her life and assets. Serafina took a deep breath, the cold rage a solid anchor in her gut. She reached into the pocket of her suit jacket and pulled out a single, laminated card. It was the power of attorney form, the one Corbin had tried to bury, now documented and photographed. Mr. Finch, is it standard legal practice to facilitate a power of attorney by forging the client's signature and then concealing the document in a neighbor's garden? She asked, her voice calm and clear. She held the card up, forcing Corbin and Genevieve to see the damning forgery, now highlighted with a bright red marker for emphasis. Corbin flushed crimson. That's a fabrication. It was a draft. It was a criminal act of attempted fraud, Corbin, Serafina corrected, cutting him off with the precision of a scalpel. And Mr. Finch, as an officer of the court, I hope you understand the implications of basing a competency challenge on the actions of individuals attempting to commit elder financial abuse. She stepped back slightly, her hand resting on the lock. You are trespassing. You have 3 minutes to leave my property, or I will call the police and file a formal report, starting with the power of attorney fraud and escalating to harassment. Mr. Finch, a professional who clearly preferred clean battles, looked distinctly uncomfortable. He gave Corbin a sharp, warning glance. We'll be in touch, Mrs. Vale. Consider this a notice of intent to seek an emergency review. I consider this a final warning to you, Mr. Finch, regarding your client's dubious ethics, Serafina returned, letting her gaze sweep over Genevieve's tear-stained face and Corbin's contorted mask of hatred. I will not be bullied, and I will not be broken. She shut the door firmly, the sound a decisive thud that echoed the end of a chapter. Serafina knew she couldn't fight a potential conservatorship battle with her own amateur knowledge. She needed a lawyer who was not just competent, but ethical, a warrior for dignity. She spent the rest of the morning calling Lydia, who immediately provided a name: attorney Samuel "Sam" Vardorn, known in the city for his commitment to fighting elder abuse and predatory family actions. That afternoon, she sat across from Sam Vardorn in his modest but organized office. Vardorn was a man in his late 50s with kind, weary eyes and a handshake that conveyed genuine solidity. She laid out the evidence: the ledger quantifying the $51,550 in theft, the forged power of attorney, the constant gaslighting, and Corbin's specific threat of a competency review. Vardorn listened intently, tapping a pen against a legal pad. When she finished, he leaned back, a grim look on his face. Serafina, I see this every day. It's despicable. They didn't see you as a mother or a person. They saw you as an ATM that needed an occasional recharge, and, now that you've closed it, they're trying to steal the machine itself. Corbin Thorne's quick move to a competency challenge is a classic predatory tactic. Declare the victim crazy before the victim can declare them criminals. He used the term she needed to hear: elder financial abuse. Your actions, cutting off the funds, confronting them, were absolutely correct. This is not about your competence. It is about their greed and their dependence, Vardorn stated firmly. My immediate advice is twofold. First, we file for an immediate restraining order based on harassment and attempted fraud. Second, you must take physical steps for security and autonomy. We need to document everything they do from this point on. Serafina felt a wave of relief. He didn't question her sanity or her memory. He validated her indignation. Following Vardorn's advice, Serafina launched a counter-offensive with chilling efficiency. Security and documentation. She hired a discreet local firm to install professional, high-definition security cameras covering the exterior of her home, focusing particularly on the perimeter facing the Thornes' property next door. She changed all the external locks and the codes on her garage door. Every interaction, every phone call, was now recorded, documented, and transcribed into a new, separate log for Vardorn. Financial fortification. She closed the joint bank account that Genevieve had access to years ago and opened a new account at a different, smaller, local credit union, establishing a secure line of credit only in her name. She designated Vardorn as a secondary contact, but never as a signatory. Her next move was to solidify her emotional reserves. She sought out her social ally, the wise figure she knew would provide the necessary emotional armor: Mrs. Octavia Reed, a formidable, silver-haired matriarch from her garden club and a former school principal. Octavia was known for her unyielding moral compass and extensive social network. Serafina explained the situation to Octavia over tea in Octavia's sun-drenched conservatory. Octavia listened, her lips pressed into a thin line of controlled fury. "My dear Serafina," Octavia said, placing her hand over Serafina's. "You are not erratic. You are not declining. You are finally exercising your sovereignty. They are thieves dressed in family clothes. They relied on your love and generosity to mask their avarice. When you stop giving, they reveal their true faces. And their true faces are hideous." Octavia's validation was more potent than any legal document. "The whispers stop now, my dear. I will let the network know exactly what the Thorne family is doing. We are a collective. We will not allow a decent woman to be victimized by vultures, especially when those vultures are her own blood. Consider me, and the entire garden club, your army." The solidarity was overwhelming. Serafina realized she was not alone. She had traded a fake, transactional family for a real, loyal community. With security in place and her legal and social teams assembled, Serafina took the most radical step of all: self-investment, the transformation. For years, her expenditures had been dominated by the Thornes' fabricated needs. Now she spent money on herself, not frivolously, but deliberately, as an act of defiance and self-reclamation. She visited her favorite salon, had her silver hair professionally styled and highlighted, a sleek, modern cut that framed her sharp features. She bought 2 new, elegant cashmere sweaters and a pair of Italian leather boots. She invested in a new, state-of-the-art laptop, enrolling in an online course on digital photography, a passion she had abandoned decades ago. The transformation was physical and psychological. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving on her freedom. The change was immediately noticeable. Her posture was straighter, her eyes held a new, steely spark. The Thornes, witnessing her transformation from the window of their house next door, interpreted this as a sign of her unstable behavior: lavish, sudden spending indicative of a break with reality. Their harassment intensified. Corbin began calling her constantly, leaving voicemails that oscillated between tearful apologies, "Mom, we miss you, please just talk to us," and vicious threats, "You have exactly 24 hours to reverse this or we will be forced to take drastic measures." They would drive by her house slowly, Genevieve staring with a pout of injured innocence. One morning, Serafina found a dead rose, snapped right off her crimson glory, on her porch. Serafina documented every call, every drive-by, and photographed the dead rose. Sam Vardon used the evidence to successfully file the temporary restraining order. The order was served that evening. The expression on Corbin's face, a mixture of outrage and disbelief that she had actually used the legal system against them, was a small, satisfying victory. But Corbin Thorne was cornered and desperation fuels radical, dangerous actions. The next morning, Serafina received an official-looking, heavy envelope from the County Department of Health and Human Services. It was a formal notification that a social worker, Ms. Clara Benton, would be visiting her residence in 48 hours to conduct a welfare and safety check and to evaluate the claims made by concerned family members regarding her mental acuity and living conditions. The core allegation, clearly typed in the document, was sudden, irrational financial cutoff and documented instances of public behavioral outbursts suggesting acute cognitive impairment. They hadn't just used the lawyer, they had weaponized the system against her, filing a false report with a governmental authority, attempting to bypass Vardon's legal defenses by attacking her core competency through a mandated, institutional investigation. This was an escalation from legal threat to a full-blown attack on her fundamental sanity. Serafina knew this visit would determine whether she was viewed as a wronged victim or a geriatric patient ready for institutional control. Serafina did not panic upon receiving the notice from Health and Human Services. She immediately contacted Sam Vardon, who confirmed their fears. Corbin and Genevieve were attempting a mandated reporter maneuver, using an official social services report to bolster their claims of incompetence in court. The strategy was to create a veneer of institutional concern, implying Serafina was a danger to herself. "We treat this as a deposition, Serafina," Vardon instructed. "Ms. Benton is not a judge, but her report will carry weight. I will be present during the interview. We will not be defensive. We will be transparent, cooperative, and then we will turn the focus directly back onto the informants, your daughter and son-in-law." On the day of the visit, Serafina's house was immaculate. Ms. Clara Benton, the assigned social worker, was a young woman with a professionally neutral expression, accompanied by Sam Vardon. The welfare and safety check began with a tour of the home, which was not only clean but organized, belying any claim of neglect. The interview started formally. Mrs. Vale, the report alleges sudden and irrational financial decisions and public behavior suggesting cognitive impairment, Ms. Benton stated, reading from her clipboard. Can you explain your decision to restrict access to your accounts and cut off financial support to your daughter and son-in-law, Mr. and Mrs. Thorne? Serafina answered calmly, her voice even. Ms. Benton, the decision was not sudden, nor was it irrational. It was a calculated decision to stop being the victim of what my attorney legally defines as elder financial abuse. Vardon stepped in, placing a concise folder on the table. Ms. Benton, we are happy to provide complete transparency. We have documentation detailing over $50,000 in unrepaid funds and financial assistance Serafina provided the Thornes. Her decision to stop funding them was fiscally responsible, protecting her remaining assets. He then slid the laminated copy of the forged power of attorney across the table, followed by the police report detailing the harassment and the newly granted restraining order. Furthermore, the Thornes, upon realizing their financial access was cut, immediately retaliated by forging this legal document and attempting to conceal it. When that failed, they escalated to public slander, the basis of the cognitive impairment claims, and then filed this harassment report, Vardon explained, his tone measured but firm. We are currently preparing documentation to file criminal charges for attempted fraud and are defending against a pending, baseless conservatorship petition. I submit, Ms. Benton, that the Thornes report to your department is not motivated by concern for Serafina, but by vindictiveness and an attempt to manipulate the system to gain access to the remaining funds they couldn't steal outright. Ms. Benton spent the next hour reviewing the documentation, her neutral expression slowly dissolving into professional skepticism directed at the Thornes. She asked Serafina questions designed to test her cognitive functions. Names, dates, current events. Serafina answered every question with the precision of a scholar. At the conclusion of the visit, Ms. Benton gathered her papers. Mrs. Vale, I have seen no evidence whatsoever of cognitive impairment, neglect, or erratic behavior that warrants further action. In fact, your actions appear to be highly rational and legally advised. I will be closing this case, and the final report will note the strong possibility that the informants fabricated these claims. The institutional attack, designed to break Serafina's spirit and validate the Thornes' claims, had utterly failed, instead delivering a critical, official indictment of the villain's motives. Meanwhile, Corbin, desperate to strengthen his conservatorship petition before the judge, resorted to falsifying or distorting crucial evidence. He contacted Dr. Elias Morrow, a psychologist who had previously provided cursory counseling to Genevieve about family stress. Corbin managed to trick Dr. Morrow into signing an affidavit that suggested Serafina's unwillingness to cooperate with financial decisions indicated severe rigidity and potential cognitive decline, misrepresenting their counseling sessions and completely omitting the context of the abuse. Vardon identified the affidavit as a key piece of the Thornes' legal filing. Dr. Morrow is a respected professional, Vardon frowned. He must have been misled, or they paid him off. We need a retraction, or this gives their case undue weight. Serafina took point. She booked an immediate, emergency session with Dr. Morrow, arriving at his office alone. She did not open with accusations. She opened with sorrow. Dr. Morrow, I saw the document you signed for Corbin and Genevieve, Serafina began gently. I am not here to sue you. I am here to tell you the truth. You diagnosed Genevieve with stress, but the cause wasn't family friction. It was the stress of attempting to defraud her own mother. She calmly presented the ledger, the forged power of attorney, and Ms. Benton's closed report, detailing the systematic theft and gaslighting. She explained how Corbin had leveraged Genevieve's emotional vulnerability and their financial desperation to launch the conservatorship suit. They did not tell you the context, Doctor. They did not tell you the financial decisions I refused to cooperate with were simply me refusing to be stolen from. Corbin used your professional integrity to validate his greed, making you an unwitting participant in a crime, Serafina finished, her eyes clear and unwavering. Dr. Morrow was visibly shaken, his face pale as he read the documentation. My God! They presented the situation as a simple inheritance dispute with an aging, difficult mother. They omitted all this. The forgery, the $50,000. They relied on your good faith, Serafina confirmed. Within hours, Dr. Morrow filed a notarized, detailed affidavit retracting his previous statement. The new document explicitly stated that the Thorns had misrepresented the facts and context of Serafina's financial decisions, and that he was withdrawing his professional opinion regarding her capacity. It was a huge victory, a professional validation that completely neutralized a key pillar of the Thorns case. To finalize the evidence of her capacity, Vardon advised Serafina to submit to a neutral, third-party cognitive assessment, a preemptive strike to eliminate any lingering doubt. She visited a respected neuropsychologist for a comprehensive battery of tests: memory recall, executive function, problem-solving, and mood assessment. It was grueling, but Serafina approached it with her typical rigor. 2 days later, Vardon called with the results. "Serafina, you didn't just pass. The neuropsychologist's report states your cognitive function is superior for your age cohort, and specifically noted your highly organized thought processes, excellent executive function, and remarkable emotional resilience under duress. It concludes there is absolutely no medical or psychological basis for a conservatorship petition. This report is gold." With the evidence overwhelming in her favor, Serafina met with her allies one final time. Lydia, Octavia, and Sam Vardon gathered in her living room. They reviewed the thick binder of evidence: the ledger, the police reports, Ms. Benton's closed case, Dr. Morrow's retraction, and the cognitive assessment. "We have them, Serafina," Vardon stated. "Morally, factually, and legally. This trial should be quick." But Serafina felt a crushing weight settle over her, the grief she had postponed. "I know we have the evidence," she whispered, looking down at her hands, the hands that used to hold Genevieve as a baby. "But seeing this binder, seeing the word fraud next to my daughter's name, it's final. The love is dead. I mourn not for the money, but for the daughter I thought I raised, and the family I thought I had. This trial isn't just about my dignity, Sam. It's the public execution of my hope." Octavia placed a comforting arm around her. "Grief is necessary, Serafina, but you trade a poisoned hope for a fierce reality. You are not losing a daughter. You are shedding a parasite. And your dignity is worth the pain." The meeting ended, but the weight of the coming trial remained. The following morning, a registered courier arrived. Serafina signed for the package, her hand shaking slightly. Inside was the final summons and complaint for the conservatorship trial. The date was set for 2 weeks away. Despite the mountain of evidence proving her competence and the Thorns' villainy, Serafina's freedom, her dignity, and her legal autonomy were still, terrifyingly, at stake. A judge, influenced by the emotional performance of her distressed daughter and the aggressive lies of Corbin, could still side against her. She knew that the courtroom was the final and most dangerous battleground. The courtroom air was thick and cold, a sterile environment ill-suited for the messy, brutal business of family betrayal. Serafina sat beside Sam Vardon, perfectly composed in a charcoal suit, clutching her detailed evidence binder. Across the aisle, Corbin and Genevieve sat with Mr. Finch. Genevieve was playing the part of the distraught daughter perfectly, a trembling hand on Corbin's arm, her head bowed in feigned distress. Corbin, however, exuded brittle confidence, the air of a man certain that entitlement would prevail over truth. The hearing began with Mr. Finch presenting the Thorns case: Serafina's erratic financial decisions, her sudden estrangement from her loving family, and the fabricated narrative of her declining mental capacity. Finch concluded by stating that the conservatorship was a necessary step to protect Serafina's estate from her own irrationality. When it was Serafina's turn, Sam Vardon methodically dismantled every single claim. He presented Ms. Benton's closed case report, citing the social worker's conclusion that the Thorns' claims were likely fabricated. He entered the report from the independent neuropsychologist, superior cognitive function. Then came the legal coup de grace, Dr. Morrow's retraction, confirming he was misled by the Thorns. Finally, Vardon called Serafina Vale to the stand. "Mrs. Vale," Vardon began gently, "the petitioners claim this proceeding is necessary because you are mentally incompetent. What is your understanding of the reason you restricted access to your funds?" Serafina looked directly at the judge, her voice clear, resonant, and devoid of rancor. "Your Honor, I am not incompetent. I was, however, financially abused," she stated, using the term Sam Vardon had given her, stripping the situation of its emotional veneer and framing it as a crime. "For years, I believed I was providing loving support to my daughter and son-in-law. I gave them over $50,000. But every time I gave, the requests for more intensified, always cloaked in an emergency. Their love was conditional on my open wallet." She paused, then spoke the truth that cut through the legal formality. "I did not act erratically. I acted responsibly. I stopped the abuse. And when I finally said no, the consequence was this lawsuit, an attempt to steal my legal rights, not to protect me. They weaponized my love, and when that failed, they weaponized the court. This is not about my mental health, Your Honor. This conservatorship petition is merely the final, most desperate phase of their campaign to take my money." Mr. Finch immediately objected, calling the statement inflammatory. "Overruled," the judge stated, leaning forward, clearly engaged. "Mrs. Vale, what do you wish the court to understand about your capacity to make decisions?" "My decision to install cameras, change the locks, hire an excellent lawyer, and open a new secure bank account. These are not the actions of an incompetent person, Your Honor. They are the calculated, rational defenses of a victim fighting for her dignity and her autonomy," Serafina concluded, holding the judge's gaze. "My mind is sharper now than it has been in years, precisely because I finally have the clarity to see my enemies for who they are. They are not protecting me. They are seeking to imprison me." After a short recess, the judge returned. The air was charged with anticipation. The court has reviewed the exhaustive evidence provided by the respondent, Mrs. Serafina Vale. This evidence includes an independent psychiatric assessment confirming superior cognitive function, a report from the Department of Health and Human Services confirming the petitioner's claims were without merit, and detailed documentation of the petitioner's past financial dependence and attempted fraud, the judge announced, his tone stern and decisive. The court finds no basis whatsoever to grant a petition for conservatorship. In fact, the actions of the respondent, Mrs. Vale, demonstrate a high degree of executive function, prudence, and legal savvy in protecting her assets from what appears to be a sustained campaign of financial exploitation by the petitioners, Mr. and Mrs. Thorne. The judge slammed his gavel down. "The petition for conservatorship is hereby denied with prejudice." He did not stop there. Turning to the Thornes' lawyer, the judge continued, "Given the overwhelming evidence that this action was not brought in good faith but was predicated on fraudulent claims and the attempted forgery of a legal document, specifically the power of attorney, the court finds the actions of the petitioners to be predatory and abusive. As a sanction, Mr. and Mrs. Thorne will be permanently responsible for all legal costs incurred by Mrs. Vale in defending this baseless petition. Furthermore, the temporary restraining order is made permanent. The petitioners are ordered to have zero contact with Mrs. Vale. If they violate this order, they will face immediate arrest." The judgment landed like a physical blow. Corbin Thorne's face went slack, his brittle confidence shattering. He leaped to his feet, shouting, "This is impossible. She's crazy. We're her family." Genevieve burst into genuine hysterical sobs, burying her face in Corbin's shoulder. The spectacle was total. Serafina watched their collapse with a cold, almost clinical detachment. The anger was gone, replaced by a profound emptiness. She didn't feel triumph, she felt the quiet finality of a long surgery. Painful, necessary, and leaving a clean scar. Their emotional and financial world was imploding, and they knew it. The debt, the penalties, and the public shame of the judge's moral indictment would crush them. As the Thornes were escorted out of the courtroom by a bailiff, still arguing vehemently with a defeated Mr. Finch, Serafina simply signed the final documents, her hand steady. The cycle of abuse was closed. 6 months later, Serafina's world was quiet, structured, and profoundly peaceful. The rose bush, the unwitting accomplice in the Thorns scheme, was thriving, the soil renewed. The house next door was dark and empty, having been sold quietly after the Thorns were forced to liquidate their assets to pay Serafina's escalating legal fees. They had left the area, defeated, disgraced, and financially ruined by their own greed. Serafina had traded the constant low-level anxiety of being abused for the simple, profound joy of autonomy. She traveled with Lydia to Italy, spending the money she had once earmarked for their mortgage down payments, laughing at the memory of the rose bush incident. She had learned to sail, a new hobby that demanded focus and respect for the unpredictable forces of nature, a good metaphor for life. Her final moral was clear and simple, distilled through the crucible of betrayal and vindication. They teach you to value love and family above all else. But sometimes, those ties are poisonous, Serafina often reflected to Octavia during their weekly bridge game. My freedom wasn't granted by the court. It was claimed by the decision to stop being abused. My money was not just currency. It was my choice. And the true freedom, the profound, unassailable peace of my later years, is realizing that I get to choose who deserves my time, who deserves my loyalty, and who deserves my money. The answer, definitively, is not those who try to bury a lie next to my roses. She had won more than a lawsuit. She had won her life back, richer not in dollars, but in self-respect. The story of Serafina Vale proves that the wisdom gained from injustice is often the most potent weapon. She turned her humiliation into a meticulous strategy and used their own greed to dismantle them, piece by agonizing piece. But the hardest part is always that first, cold cut. The realization that the family love you treasured was transactional, and you have to be the one to end the transaction. Did you like this story? Did Serafina's response, the cold, calculated vengeance of the sage, give you the satisfaction you needed? What would you have done when you found that power of attorney buried next to your rosebush? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the Amália Diaries for more stories of injustice, wisdom, and the ultimate victory of dignity.